Hi, welcome to Unplugged with Eraldo and Daryn. And before we get started, Daryn, it's Pride Month. So tell me, what are your thoughts on this month-long celebration?
I have a lot of thoughts on it,
So let's
okay?
hear them. Let's go ahead.
I'm 31 years old.
Good.
I've been gay for 31 years.
All 31 years,
all
of course.
31
All
years,
31
as
years.
much as I can remember. You know, and listen, I think Pride Month is great. I think it's an opportunity to celebrate and really, remember the historical value of what gay people, LGBTQ plus community has really gone through.
Right.
But my one sort of gripe with it is like, it's only a month. Like, shouldn't we be, like, I'm proud 365 days a year.
Correct.
What bothers me a little bit is just them, focusing on Pride for this 1 week, you know what I mean? And like every company gets behind it.
Correct.
And then as soon as July hits, oh, we're back to like the normal logo and this and that. I don't need rainbow all year, but I would like acknowledgement that we're gay 365 days a year.
Exactly right, my point. But shouldn't it be like normal by now? Shouldn't it be, why does it have to be highlighted? Like, it should be something that it's already,
This is sort of my...
I mean, this is my thought.
No, I agree with you completely. I've never been a huge gay pride marcher. I think right now it's really for the historical value of it. I know there were some guys in Boston who wanted to do a straight pride parade. Sort of a juxtaposition of what we're trying to go through. Except the thing is that there's more historical value, I think, in the gay pride parade. I mean, we've been marginalized before. We had to fight for our rights to get married, to have children. There's still draconian laws about it. And so really for me, it's just a representation of the history and what we went through and educating the public about what happens. But for me, I feel just like everybody else. I don't really need a parade to tell me that I'm proud and I'm gay. I am gay, and I feel that it's just all I feel is just a preference. It's like liking pizza, liking being tall, being short. It's just something that I like.
So what would you like to see in society and in legislation, particularly in legislation, right? That's the crust right there, right? So what would you like to see?
Well, I think that politics follows culture. And so I think culture and the people, us coming out as gay and being really open, as soon as more and more people knew who were gay, legislation started to follow. And I think people started to realize that, hey, we're just kind of like everyone else. So I definitely think the public is paving the way for that already. I don't really think that making us more marginalized by, adding letters to us and telling them we're in this group. I'm a human being first and foremost. I'm an individual. I'm a human. I'm just as important as you. I'm just as not important as you. We're on the same level. And so what I would like to see is not as many barriers. Like, I don't want to see gay rights. I want to see human rights. I want to see individual rights, because that's really what we are. Right.
So do you think some people do you think they embrace it? Do most people still embrace it? Do most people still have a hard time with it? Do you see it slowly changing? Do you see no changes? How do you see it, say, for example, in the next 5 or 10 years or 20 years?
I mean, listen, I think no matter what, 2019, there's never been a better time to be gay. No matter what. I mean, listen, there's still hardships. We're still always fighting. There's always going to be that, right? There's always going to be things to push through and barriers to break. But I still think there's never been a better time, and so it is slowly getting better. I mean, listen, DOMA happened a few years ago. We got rid of that, so now we can get married. There's surrogacy laws that are being in place. Certainly in New York, we have really antiquated surrogacy laws. So I'm hoping, and that can be very homophobic, and so I'm hoping to see that sort of break through. But I definitely think improvements are happening and changes are happening. I think corporations can do a better job, as opposed to, my problem is like they get on the bandwagon for this month, and it's almost like for publicity to make them think that they're into gay people. But then they vote for an anti-gay legislator, an anti-gay legislation. It doesn't matter if you put up a rainbow pride flag as your Instagram picture for a month. We need to see corporations and we need to see businesses doing it throughout the whole year entirely. I mean, this is why I don't shop certain places or I don't eat certain places that come out as anti-gay, because for me, the best thing that I can do is fight with my dollars and fight with my money. And so as long as I'm not purchasing that and not supporting that, in some small way, I'm helping out my constituency.
And that's why you're my co-host.
That's right.
All right.
That's right.
Okay, guys, stay with us. When we come back, we have media personality and civil rights activist Ashlee Marie Preston. Stick around. Welcome back. Joining us via Skype from New York is media contributor, civil rights activist, and the creator of Thrive Over 35, Ashlee Marie Preston.
Ashlee, thank you so much for joining us to discuss LGBTQ rights and specifically transgender rights. You know, this year alone, there have been 10 murders of Black trans women in the United States. Why has this group been so marginalized?
There is someone by the name of Dr. Kimberly Crenshaw. She's a professor at UCLA, and she coined the term intersectionality in 1989, and it describes multiple threats of discrimination when an individual's identity overlaps with multiple marginalized groups. So as Black trans women, we're never going to experience discrimination on a single axis, but we experience multi-tier marginalization simultaneously. So that definitely contributes to our exponential vulnerability to violence.
So Ashlee, tell us what needs to happen at the federal level so that we can start seeing some changes here.
We need a task force. Much like intersectionality, as I described, we can't look at barriers to access on a single axis. We have to take into consideration that employment, housing, medical needs, legal aid, social support, all of those areas are opportunities that need to be examined simultaneously. So if you are suffering with employment, if you don't have housing, that's not going to do anything for that job that you just got because you're not going to be able to maintain it. If you are navigating substance abuse, housing isn't going to do anything unless you have services and resources that are going to help you through that. So I think that the federal government needs to be more intentional about investing in historically disenfranchised communities and look at a multi-pronged approach to how they're going to address those needs.
Right, it needs to be targeted and a little bit more specific.
Right.
Can you describe a little bit of your hashtag Thrive Over 35 social media campaign for us?
I would love to. It makes me feel so happy when I think about hashtag Thrive Over 35. The estimated life expectancy of a Black trans woman is only 35 years old, and media has a tendency to run this trauma porn about our lives and who we are and how we die and at the hands of who we die to. And Thrive Over 35 is an opportunity for Black trans women to reimagine our lives outside of an open casket or a jail cell. It's an opportunity to examine some of those barriers to access that place us in front of the barrel of the gun. And it's an opportunity to underscore the light, love, and humanity that we possess. I think that many people don't know much about Black trans women, or many Americans still have never met a trans person. So it's an opportunity to work collaboratively with community organizations, elected officials, and really have a sincere, genuine dialogue about what needs to happen in order to help trans people thrive, but more specifically, trans women of color.
So tell us a little bit about your collaboration with the Black Lives Matter at the LA parade this year.
Absolutely. I think right now, the country is in a weird place where we're all competing for liberation. I think that many of us are subscribing to this single slice ideology that has us convinced that we can't have our own needs met while addressing the needs of others. And so Patrisse Cullors, who is a friend and co-founder of Black Lives Matter, and I got together and had a conversation about some of the struggles that cisgender Black women and Black trans women have that parallel. And so it was an opportunity for us to unpack that power in numbers. And it was an opportunity to commit to one another that we would show up for one another and that no one will be left behind. I remember being younger and hearing stories that all the good kids got the shiny toys, and if you were a bad kid, you got a stocking full of coal. And then I grew up and I realized that even if you are a good person, life will still hand you coal. And so there came a point in my activism where I thought to myself, if life gives me coal, I'm going to build coalitions. And that was an opportunity with myself and Black Lives Matter to pull our resources together and see what good we can do in the world.
I'm taking that phrase, coal to coalitions. That's that's activism right there. For people who want to get involved and know more about the trans community, how can they be an ally? Where's the best place for them to go?
There are innumerable resources online. You can go to HRC, you can go to Equality California or any of their satellite city sites. You can go to the Transgender Law Center. But I think more importantly, talk to a trans person, find out what their need is individually, because we aren't a monolith, and one way of showing up for me may look different for another trans person. And more importantly, educate your peers. Oftentimes we're tasked with our own survival while also having to educate other people. So as an ally, once you've explored those resources, you've learned a couple of our struggles and challenges and the terminology, share it with somebody else. Sharing is caring. So I think that the best way to be an ally is to show up, ask what we need, do your homework, and then take on the labor of love to educate someone else.
Well said.
Yes, right. Ashlee, thank you so much for being on the show with us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All the best to you.
Really appreciate it. Still to come, we're going to discuss some rare collectibles and what they're worth with collector Bob Young.
Start thinking about all that stuff in your attic. You never know, it might be worth something. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Joining us now is Bob Young, the founder of Redline Archeology, aka the Indiana Jones of Hot Wheels.
Bob is also a geese chaser. Yes, I said a geese chaser. So we have a lot to talk about. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us. Great
I
seeing
love
you
your
guys.
blazer, man. We have so much to
That's
talk
right.
about. Geese and collectibles. But tell me what got you started on collecting Hot Wheels specifically, but just the culture behind collecting.
Well, you know, back in the 60s, grew up with very modest means, and Hot Wheels was a very affordable toy for the day. So that was the one that my parents got me. And I think it's carried me into my passion for cars to this day, you know, full-size cars, as well as, you know, still collecting the originals from my childhood from the late 60s and early 70s. But how I got started was that my mom called me back in the early 90s and said, get yours and your brother's toys out of this attic. And when my mother spoke, either, you know,
You listened.
if you didn't listen, you had a wooden spoon
That's
broken
right.
over you or something like
Yeah.
that. So, you know, I went over, got the toys, said, oh my God, Mom, you got my old Hot Wheels. Like I couldn't believe she saved them. I hadn't seen them in like years. So next thing I know, she drops off an article in the paper. It says Hot Wheels celebrating its 25th anniversary. This was 1993. She goes, these little babies might be worth something. Well, I let my kids, and they're like stuck in
Throwing them
shoe
against the
covers
wall.
against the
Blowing
wall,
them
the
up,
tracks
everything.
everywhere. So I'm like gathering them all up, dusting them off, and putting them aside. So I did some research, and they said, yeah, they're really valuable at this time. I'm going back 25 years. So I put an ad in the paper, and on the last day of the ad, I finally got a phone call from a woman in Woodbury, New Jersey. Said, I got a case of these old Hot Wheels. You know, just come on over here and get them out of here. I don't want them anymore. So I bought them and flipped them for 10 times what they were worth at that time.
Wow.
I had college bills to pay, and it just really took care of all my college loans, and really it put a built-in pool in my backyard, did all these wonderful things for me and my wife as we were young couple, you know, with small children, and we didn't have much money at that time. So it really supplemented my income at that time. But it's really evolved into more of a passion for me, you know, in the last 10, 15 years. I just love to find the old stuff.
Why is there such a connection? Why is that? Tell us about the deep meaning connection with the Hot Wheels. I mean, it's a toy, I understand that, but there has to be something sentimental about it, right?
Well, I think it was the most exciting thing for the times. Mattel did such a wonderful job with creating new and innovative accessories that went along with the toy cars. And the toy cars were all metal. They had axles that were flexible. They ran down the track, went through these loops, did over the jumps. The parachutes would pop out the back, through the finish line, the flag would drop. It was an exciting thing for the day.
It was.
You know?
It's an exciting thing now.
Yeah.
We should get one out, actually.
Thinking I'm like parachuting it.
So, you know, as an 8-year-old in 1968, that really stays with you, I think. And then when I pulled them out of my mom's attic, the smells came back. And then all these memories come rushing through your mind with how much fun was surrounded by these things. And it just takes you back to I guess, a more simple time in your life that was all about having fun, just looking for the next fun thing to do. And we had so much fun with Hot Wheels, me and my friends.
What are some like really cool collectibles today that make like a lot of money? Is it still like the older toys like Barbies and Hot Wheels, or what are people getting into?
Well, I think now the kids that were born in the 70s and 80s that are now coming into money in their 40s and 50s, the Transformers are really big now, from what I understand. Star Wars figures and action sets are real big with collectors now. You know, there's probably a lot more collectors in Hot Wheels that do the new stuff because it's affordable. Right. There's Hot Wheels that are worth $100,000, $150,000 each, prototypes.
Wow.
Yeah, one car.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, and these red lines, we call them red lines because they have these little thin red lines around the outside of the tires. They were built to mimic California styling of the day. That had all the red lines around the outside of the tires. And they're just a lot more expensive. Like even a common red line in decent shape will run you $50 to $100 out of the package.
We're in the wrong industry.
We're definitely on the wrong industry.
So, but you know, some are, the prototypes are thousands and thousands of dollars each.
Wow.
Yeah, that we're just using testing.
So tell us about this geese chasing. Tell us a little bit about what
Are
is
you
that a
riding
passion? Is
in
it a
a Hot
passion
Wheel?
of yours, or is that not when you're chasing these with the
Yeah.
Hot Wheels?
Right. Yeah, it's actually a pretty good idea.
Yeah, right.
Make it a lot more fun.
Right.
You know, we had a border collie back in 1998 that was driving us nuts. The ironic thing about the whole thing is I'm allergic to dogs. So, but I did it for my son, who just to this day he's our VP of operations for Geese Chasers Corporate. We have 7 franchises from North Carolina up to New York. We do Central Park. We keep the geese out of Central Park. I know you're from Manhattan.
Yes, I am.
So
Thank you.
Yeah, so you'll see our dogs. We go there from 7 in the morning till 10. It's the only time they allow us in the park. But we keep the geese out of the park, you know, so they don't have the droppings and attack people with the babies and all that. But I would take, you know, how I got started in it was I'd come home from the office and I would take our Border Collie Boomer out just to run them because Border Collies are working dogs. Right. They need a purpose. So Boomer's purpose was Frisbee and a ball.
Right.
So a golf course owner stopped me as he saw I was playing with the dog. And he says, "Is that a Border Collie?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "How do you know it's a Border Collie?" He goes, "Well, I hear they're starting to use them successfully on golf courses in the Midwest to clear geese." I said, "I don't know what you're talking about." He said, "Would you mind bringing the dog out? I'll give you and your son," my son was with me, he was little at the time, all the free golf you want and lessons.
Oh, can't beat that.
I said, "You just leave me a card out with a card key so I can run this dog."
Right, exactly.
You know, he almost passes out because they have so much energy, you know. And then one thing just led to another. People started stopping me and, you know, "Can I have your business card?" "Business card? What do you need my business card for?" They said, "Well, don't you chase geese for a living?" I said, "Bing, maybe I do now."
Wow.
And that was 20 years ago, and now we're, you know, pretty large company with 7 franchises and growing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Real quick, any other books in the project? Or?
There is. I actually have a film production company in LA that's interested in possibly producing a movie, a feel-good movie around the book and my stories, because I talked a lot about my entrepreneurial exploits in there. And then there's the other one I want to write is called Talking About My T-Shirts. It's growing up with all my buddies, and, you know, like catching frogs, turtles, fishing, stickball, street hockey. The life of, you know, it's like that old show, The Wonder Years, that used to be on TV that was real popular. Something along those lines.
Pleasure.
Bob.
It's a pure pleasure to
I
have
learned
you.
so
I
much
wish we
about
had more
geese
time.
Thank you so
and
much.
Hot Wheels today.
Thanks for being
What
with
a
us.
combination.
What a
Right?
combination.
Okay, guys, when we return, we have the host of the Girl Talk Network to give us some tips on how to create habits to build self-confidence.
Stay with us. We'll be right back after the break.
We're back. Joining us via Skype from Los Angeles is the founder of the Girl Talk Network, Sarah Pendrick. Sarah is an international empowerment speaker, TV show host, media contributor, and humanitarian.
I am nothing compared to you, Sarah.
Nothing, zero.
Thank you for joining us. I love that your new TV show already has 10 million
Oh my
subscribers.
God. I can't believe it. It's
Can't
amazing.
believe it. And hasn't even aired yet. I think you have such an important message for everyone. Tell me, how do we overcome comparisonitis, especially in the world of social media? Help us.
Well, oh my gosh, thank you for having me on. You guys are amazing. I'm so excited to be here. Comparisonitis, it's something that's really been conditioned in us since we were young. It's conditioned in society. We constantly compare ourselves. And you'd be surprised that 4 out of 5 women have low self-esteem. And I truly feel it's due to this comparisonitis. So the way that we fight it is by talking about it. So many people pretend that it's not there. So we get to talk about it and we really get to acknowledge it and stop resisting it.
So when someone feels comparisonitis coming on, how do they deal with it? What is your advice?
So my advice, and this is what I do, is I notice the thought. And I also think about, where does this come from? Because it's usually a limiting belief or something that we've been conditioned since childhood, something that happened to us earlier in life that we're bringing into the present moment. So the first step is being aware of it, not pushing it away. And then changing the thought. Why am I feeling like this? What's coming up for me? And really, what's the truth?
What inspired you to, go around the country and really help what seems to be young females with this issue?
So what inspired me is my own story. I was this bright, beautiful young woman, so excited about life. And I had so many people telling me that I couldn't do what I wanted to do, and that, your little girls do this and they're supposed to do that. So I went from what's truly in us of believing in ourselves, and then entered that 4 out of 5 statistic of women that don't believe in themselves. And I started to doubt, my power inside. And I realized that, and I dedicate my life to going around the country and talking to young girls and women everywhere from ages 25 to 50, because we all face the self-doubt and the comparison. So now I've made it my mission to go around and talk about this issue.
So how can someone start shifting their minds towards empowerment, and really beginning to get a handle on all of this?
Yeah, so one thing that I do is every morning, if you notice, and you guys will start noticing when you wake up tomorrow morning, our brain is conditioned to think about the future or what we have to do. Oh my gosh, I have all these things to do, and a future and a worry. So every morning, instead of waking up with an empowering thought, we're thinking future-based or worried about what we have to do. So this morning, I'm so excited to be on here today, but my old conditioning brain was going through the list of all the things that I had to do today. So what you get to do is you wake up and you think of a present moment. I get to do all these things today. So it starts in the morning. Change your empowering question. Write down 3 things that you're grateful for. And honestly, and I really hope that you guys take this with you, and I'm sure you too will, have a dance party. Anyone can do it. Single, married, kids. It's like literally get your mind and your blood moving and dance everything out first thing in the morning.
You don't want to see Eraldo dance.
No. However, do I do?
It's not going to give anyone confidence. Trust me. What does confidence look like to you? How would you describe it?
So imagine just a woman that takes up, or a man that goes into a room and takes up space and isn't scared and speaks their mind and uses their voice and really speaks to what they have to say and doesn't hold back. And we all every day will look different. I think there's this idea that you're going to be confident 100% of the time, and that's not possible. But you get to walk in a room and set the intention and remind yourself that you're there and you matter, and it's good to be different. Could you imagine if all of us on this planet were the same?
It'd be boring.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Tell us, what is the gap between self-doubt and believing in yourself? Tell us about that gap a little bit.
So like I said before, you're always going to have a little bit of self-doubt, especially when you're getting to the next level, you're trying something new. That's natural. So have compassion for yourself. That self-doubt and, sometimes not believing yourself, it will be there. But the gap is always, for me, I feel, and through my studies and working with women around the world, it's either a judgment thought or a comparison thought. So the next time that you feel that gap of here to totally believing yourself and confidence, ask yourself, what am I doing right now? Am I judging? Am I judging someone else? Am I judging myself? Or am I comparing? Because so many times you're thinking, oh, but I saw this person do it this way. So that means you're comparing and you're bringing on the self-doubt, and that's in the gap.
Wow.
Tell us what we can expect from this show and network from you, and what you hope to really get out of it.
Oh gosh, thanks for being so supportive, guys. I'm so excited. It's all about my mission. It's for men and women, just that female entrepreneurship doesn't look just one way, that we really get to start from our purpose in life when we come into this world, and how we get back there, how we get away from the conditioning thoughts and the limiting beliefs that have held us back. And we're going to be having so many amazing guests on. We're going to be teaching you step-by-step things that you could do daily. And it's going to be a show that every week we bring the audience in to really just empower each other and connect around the world.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Wow.
How amazing,
Sarah,
right?
thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sarah. All the
You're an
best to you.
inspiration. Yeah, seriously.
Thank you. Have your dance party tomorrow morning.
We will. Bye-bye. Take care. We wish the Girl Talk Network the very best. Thanks again to all of our guests, and a big thank you to all of you home for watching.
And remember, let's continue our conversation on social media. We look forward to hearing from you. Be sure to share topics with us and guests that you would like to see on the show. Have a great weekend.
Preceding was sponsored by